Alakbarov for his briefing. I now give the floor to those council members who wish to make statements. I give the floor to the representative of France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. France condemned in the strongest terms the horrific anti-Semitic terrorist attack that has affected Australia. Nothing can justify such violence, and we have presented our condolences to the victims, to their families, and to the Australian people. Mr. President, grateful to the Deputy Special Coordinator, Mr. Ramiz Alakbarov, for his briefing. A month ago, the Council adopted Resolution 2803, aimed at implementing the peace plan for Gaza presented by President Trump. This resolution endorsed the progress obtained over the past few months, and in particular supporting the efforts of the U.S., Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey. The ceasefire, the release of hostages, and resumption still insufficient of humanitarian assistance. This is a first step which must be fully consolidated. The ceasefire must be fully respected by the parties, and the massive delivery of humanitarian aid must be ensured throughout Gaza by the United Nations and their partners. The last body of a hostage must be returned. It's also urgent to allow for the deployment of the International Stabilization Force, the disarmament of Hamas, and withdrawal of Israeli forces. In parallel, the establishment of a transition government in Gaza must lead to a return of a reformed Palestinian Authority, and France intends to fully contribute to these efforts. At the same time, the situation in the West Bank and the East Bank and the East Jerusalem, is deteriorating severely, marked by an alarming intensification of violence. France would like to recall that the future of Gaza and of the West Bank are interconnected. Violence in the West Bank compromises prospects for lasting peace and security for Palestinians and for Israelis. The success of the peace plan for Gaza and regional stability. Mr. President, I'd like to insist on 5 very worrisome developments currently underway in the West Bank. First of all, Israeli military operations are intensifying, with the launch of a major operation in the north, leading to the forced displacement of populations, in particular in refugee camps, and violations of human rights. The summary execution of 2 unarmed Palestinians by Israeli border guards in Jenin is a tragic illustration of this violence. This incident must be fully investigated. Secondly, a massive increase of violence by settlers against Palestinian civilians has sowed terror and compromised the stability of the West Bank, as well as prospects for global comprehensive peace and security. France calls Israel to protect the Palestinian population and to punish the perpetrators of the violence. Thirdly, the recent approval by the Israeli government of 19 new outposts and the settler project E1 constitutes a flagrant violation of international law and a blow to the two-state solution. We reiterate our condemnation of the expansion of settlements and our opposition to any form of annexation of the West Bank, whether it's partial, total, or de facto. Fourthly, the persistent threats against the work of UNRWA are unacceptable, in particular the raid of its facilities in East Jerusalem in violation of the status of UN facilities. Any additional hindrance to the action of UNRWA, which plays a central role for the Palestinian population, would go against the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice of the 22nd of October of 2025. We call on Israel to lift all obstacles to humanitarian aid and to cooperate with UN agencies. Conformity with this advisory opinion, including by opening all the crossing points and by ceasing to refuse in an arbitrary way the delivery of essential goods for the survival of the population delivered by the UN. Fifthly, the persistent refusal by the Israeli government to restore to the Palestinian Authority its tax receipts and renew the system of banking corresponding banks is unjustifiable. The weakening of the Palestinian Authority compromised its ability to implement reforms and assume its responsibilities in Gaza as anticipated by Resolution 2803. Its financial collapse would be a serious threat to regional stability and to the security security of Israel. Mr. President, to conclude, France reaffirms its commitment to this two-state solution with a state of Palestine living in peace and security side by side with Israel. This is the only credible horizon for peace and security for everyone in the region in conformity with the New York Declaration adopted in September by a very broad majority in the General Assembly. Thank you.
I thank the representative of France for the statement, and I give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
Thank you, Mr. President.